What's cracking, everybody? Hello and welcome back to the Players Tours Final. I am Ailey Loney and that is Corey Baumeister, and we're going to be bringing you the game that you've all been waiting to see, the deck you've all been yearning for. The Mardu Winota in the hands of Michael Jacob. Corey, this list, it's doing things. It is very, very cool to see go off.
Hey, I was getting excited for a team of Reclamation mirrors, and now you're telling me we're going to play two decks without Team of Reclamation?
Corey?
Okay, all right.
Out.
All right. I'll see myself out.
Bad Corey.
Totally kidding. Azorius Control is by far my favorite deck. Yorin is my favorite card for the last, 10, 15 years. So I'm excited to see some new spins on some of the popular decks.
All right, well, the players are ready to rock and roll, so let's jump in here. Levy versus Michael Jacob. Azorius Control, Corey's favorite list, versus Mardu Winota, which I think is the fan favorite here, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at this opening hand here. That's a bit of a yikes. We're going to send that back. Let's find some more lands. There goes Shadow of the Sky, Shark Typhoon. Not great, but this is possible. Or are we going to see another mulligan here?
Definitely keeping this. I mean, Shatter of the Sky is going to be probably the most important card. Aether Gust, on the other hand, it hits some of the really big haymakers. Winota, Judith,
Tajik?
Some of the very Tajik. But other than that, it doesn't hit a lot of the early stuff, so it's a very corner case card. That one's not going to be ideal, but Shatter the Sky alone makes this one worth it.
Yeah, it's nice to have Shadow of the Sky, but if we take a look at the other side there, we see a Kitesail Freebooter that's going to have a good time having a look in this hand. As the turn comes back around, Narset Pardo Veil's off the top of the library, and we're just going to play a land, pass it back, and let's see what Michael Jacobs spies here in the hand of Levy.
Yeah, you can't really Aether Gust that Kitesail Freebooter, unfortunately, so that is going to happily take Shatter the Sky here.
Mm-hmm.
And
nothing really else that can interact with it, yeah?
Yeah, not really. Interested in just cycling the Shark Typhoon? That's pretty interesting just because I think it seems pretty obvious, at least to me, that you would want to take Shatter the Sky, but maybe valuing the Shark a little bit higher, Raphael Levy is, and just deciding to get rid of it to hit a land drop, but you gotta think that Shatter the Sky is the target here.
Yeah, my first instinct is, that Shatter the Sky is going to get yoinked out of hand faster than you can say lickety-split, right? Yes, Shark Typhoon cycling and not leaving a body behind, though, is it that much more valuable? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, not really, but there is one piece of information to hide. Like, even if Raphael Levy cycles the Shark here, and doesn't get an actual body here, it's less information that Michael Jacob knows. Let's say he cycles into another Shatter of the Sky. Michael Jacob's very likely to not play around it. And, for instance, might jam, raise the alarm, and locks it on next turn, and then just get completely blown out. So concealing that little small amount of information can be huge.
Oh, that was huge.
This is not pre-recorded. This is not pre-recorded, I promise.
Okay,
and we have
but
the other white source.
We don't have the other white source, though. We're going to need to find that still.
Nope. We have the white source with that Field of Ruin.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Because we just blow that up and go find land. Cheeky. I like it. And shutting off 2 of the colors so far as well. So I see what you did there.
Wow, this is a commentary, just lucky dream right here that I just called that right off the top there. And the situation seems like it's going to work exactly like that. And I think we're going to see a big sigh from Michael Jacob here. He is not going to be pleased with that next turn.
Oh, man, this hurts even more. Just seeing so many resources committed to the battlefield here, and everything's just going to get blown to smithereens. Levy's main phase. So here you go. Field of Ruin. Let's go blowing up some stuff, shall we? Let's get rid of that Rakdos land over there. Let's go get that other white source, and let's start blowing up some weenies.
Yep, and we're going to get that card draw. So any Michael Jacob fans, don't fear too much. We get an extra 2 cards to start the next turn. Plus, we have Raise the Alarm, so it's definitely not over by any means, but going to be a huge setback here for Michael Jacob.
Yeah, and also, Levy's going to get back that other Shadow of the Sky, so, that's just a known threat for Michael Jacob going forward into the next round. Tries to reestablish his battlefield, is like, everything's probably going to die again, so what is the ideal outcome here as we see Winota join our forces yoinked off the top of the library?
Yeah, I mean, the Winota's pretty solid here, and there may be some window where Michael Jacob can line up, a Raise the Alarm into a Winota and kind of go crazy there. if Raphael Levy decides to tap out and maybe play a Narset or something like that, it easily could be the case. Or just jam here. I like it.
Yeah, okay. Just being like, all right, cool, I know you have it, so let's go. Perhaps valuing the 2 creatures and raise the alarm, hoping to find a second Winota, and also knowing that we're going to draw another card if there is a Shadow of the Sky here.
Definitely. And the one thing I really like from Michael Jacob for that play is just mana efficiency. Like, you play a 4-drop on this turn, next turn you can raise the alarm, plus, you know, get your Gigantha into your hand or cycle. So really nice sequence in that regard.
Yeah. Ether Gust, they're finding one of the targets that it has in this list, sending Winota back to the top of the library, so it gets to live another day. It will see some more battles unless Raph Levy finds a counterspell for it. But now we see Narset digging through the top of the library, looking at a few options here. What do you like here, Corey?
This is close. I definitely don't like Thirst. I definitely didn't like Thirst because we already have one. The Omen is actually, I mean, the Omen of the Sun is supposed to be the card for aggro, but it's really not that much of an aggro deck. I know everyone's going to be like, Corey, it's every single card is a creature, but it plays like a little bit more of a combo deck. Like, you don't win the game by blinking your Omen of the Sun and blocking their 1/1s repeatedly like you do against like Rakdos Sacrifice, for instance. You lose by Winota creating 3 or 4 triggers, and it doesn't matter if you have 2 1/1s and you gain 2 life. It's all a big attack swing.
Yeah, it's almost like Michael Jacob needs to figure out a way to get the one-shot kill, right? It's like, I need to get you dead in 1 attack, or this game is pretty much lost. You know, there's not that many opportunities you have to get this game one and done.
Yep, exactly. Well said there, Alias. And it's pretty nice here being able to fairy bounce, and then with Narset just hanging around on the battlefield, not doing anything because it already got value. Birth kind of doing the same. We're really starting to get close to where my beautiful bird serpent will be able to do some serious damage here.
Oh, you're a fan of the Sky Noodle, aren't you?
Oh, the Sky Noodle is so good. I even have an emote on my channel where I put an afro on the Yorian's head there. Yeah.
Why an afro?
To really bond with me. Well,
okay. Yeah, you kind of do, yeah. Your hair gets a little crazy, especially in quarantine. It just kind of went...
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Now we're going to see a Shadow of the Sky here, potentially from Raph Levy, as the Loxodon has come down, convoked with the 2 little critters, giving them both counters. So things are looking a little dicey here now for Raph. It's like, if I fire it off now, I lose my stuff, but if I don't, Winota's coming down and I could be dead. So here you go.
A really big missed opportunity here for Raph Levy. With Teferi ticking up and having Narset static in play, Raphael could have waited until Michael Jacob's upkeep, shatters the Sky there. Michael Jacob will still draw a card, but then he won't draw a card for his draw step because of the Narset static.
Okay.
So gave him an extra card for no reason on that one.
All right. Let's see if that comes back to haunt Raph Levy. The
Michael
Hall of
Jacob,
Famer.
you can see it in his camera right there. He's like, yep, sure,
He's like,
thanks.
Oh,
he
thank
saw
you.
it.
Thank you for the card there, friend.
Yep.
So now, just deciding what we want to do. If we thirst for meaning, could possibly find some more action. If we don't find an artifact, an enchantment to discard, I have to chuck a few cards there. So not great, but, you know, there's 3 options here, or actually 4 with the Shark Typhoon. Do you like just grabbing the Sky Nomad from the Companion Zone?
I think so. I think that is a solid play. And yeah, it looks like that minor
Apparently
play
that was
really
a
matter.
game-ending play. It's just like, yeah, look at me. I'm going to get my companion. The game is won there for Raph Levy.
Well, of course. Have you ever beat a Yorian blinking anything? I mean, I know I haven't.
No. Unless I could, kill them when they're at 1 life with the shock or something. I don't know. No.
Yeah, there you go.
It's pretty difficult. So inevitability is surely in Raph Levy's corner there as we go to sideboard. So what's the plan here against this mostly unknown or underrepresented Winota list?
Yeah, and this one seems pretty easy. Anything that says the word destroy creature on it, you bring it in. And anything that says counter target spell, you're probably bringing it out. Values for Aether Gust, just for the sense that all the very powerful, meaningful spells like Winota, Judith, Tajik, all those things are red. And just recognizing that I need to interact every single turn against this deck, and then eventually your natural card advantage with Yorion and Archon of Sun's Grace is eventually going to take over. You just have to get to that point of the game. The thing that I'm kind of confused about is seeing all these Narset still in. That seems like a card that I'd almost rather have like commence the end game because Narset is quite bad in this matchup.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's earning its spot, post board, just to go and dig through the library and find the Shadow of the Skies or the Elspeth Conquers Death or the counter spells, perhaps something along those lines.
Yeah, and you definitely can't take out all of them because there is just not enough anti-aggro cards in the sideboard here. And to be honest, Narset is pretty decent against some of the other aggressive decks. Still going Bertha Melitis into Narset, where that body is enough to protect your Narset for even one turn is really all you need, because then you get that second activation. That's usually good enough. The deck that is literally 100% creatures is a bit of a different story.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, well, look at that. Nothing else. Just a whole bunch of itty-bitty critters looking to get as many Winota triggers as you possibly can. So let's get things going here. Pretty decent-looking hand from Raph Levy's side of things. Michael Jacob, maybe would have liked an extra land in there. He's got a mulligan, finds 2 Raise the Alarms, and Old King Kenny.
Yeah, the old mountain, and I just lost the name of that black-white creature.
General's Enforcer.
Yeah, General Enforcer and Mountain is a really iconic duo right there.
Yeah, but that card can be really, really good, because the one thing I love about this Mardu list, or just playing like these humans in general, is the General's Enforcer, along with Tajik, protects, at least from like direct damage, so the Enforcer protects Tajik and Winota and King Kenrith, and then he protects them in return, so...
Yep, exactly. And I mean, honestly, that's the majority of the removal in this format. Michael Jacob did not want to probably play against one of the very few Shatter the Sky decks in the metagame. I mean, we don't see that as much as we see Storm's Wrath or Solar Blaze in this metagame.
Yeah, so that's why we just see the one copy in the sideboard of the General's Enforcer. That's come in just to try and help out a little bit here as we get things underway. Bertha Melitis finding a plains. Will get a wall down in front of the Selfless Savior, but not before it swings in, gets 1 point of damage. Down to 18 we go. Field of Ruin off the top.
There's not too many times when I am like, man, I really wish I was down in this battlefield instead of casting this right now. But when somebody goes Bertha Melitis into Teferi and there's not multiple creatures to pressure it, I am just like, wow, this is just a dream.
Oh, yes. But how scary is this right now for Raph Levy? He doesn't know what's in hand, but you can see he's kind of sweating there a little bit, worried. Oh, crap. Am I going to see a Winota next turn? What is happening here?
Yep, exactly. And that's why we're pausing on Teferi Time Reveler, because if we bounce something, Teferi goes away because there is 2 attackers. But if we don't, that's an extra Winota trigger if Michael Jacob were to have land Winota in hand. Now, we know that he does not, so the ideal perfect play for somebody watching would be tick up, protect it for now, but it's just you have to play scared against that card because you don't come back from that effect with Winotas.
Yeah, it's backbreaking. It's almost an instantaneous win. If you get Winota to resolve an attack and her triggers go off, you are in big trouble. But that's not the case. Just the Venerated locks it in. I just say just the Venerated locks it down. It's a 4/4. But yes, down on the battlefield, no Shatters in hand just yet for Raph, so he's going to be digging for those. He's got Elspeth Conquers Death to deal with a bigger creature. But first and foremost, let's deal with one of these little itty-bitty idiots with the Glass Casket and possibly getting that pooch into the bin. Oh.
So here I actually love taking the token.
Oh, yeah?
Because you're a Yorion deck. When you have an empty glass casket, if you will, then you don't have to give your opponent back a creature. You just get to take something later. So this is planning for 4 turns down the line if you take the token here. And that's what you have to do. You already always start with access to a Yorion, but you also play multiples in your deck. It may be 80 cards, but you're still gonna cast one by the end of the game unless you get run over.
Nice. So Aethergust being left up here for any red threat. There is one in the form of Judith the Scourge Diva. Almost an Anthem effect, giving all of the other creatures +1/+0. And also pretty good against Wrath effect. So if the board does go bye-bye, she's going to ping the living daylights out of something.
Yeah, exactly. A scary card to look across from whenever you're at a remotely low life total. You always have to keep it in check. Here, not necessarily the case. Aether Gust can take care of it and just keep another permanent off the battlefield, but it's not the biggest deal on this board.
Nah, not so much. I mean, I'm still at 20. You know, for an Azorius control player, it's like, no, when I get down to maybe 3 life, I'll start worrying.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, I think you gotta get that Teferi off the battlefield while you can, even though this is kind of an awkward situation. Okay, just
Cheeky.
giving the option here.
This is kind of a cheeky attack. It's like, okay, how much do you want your Teferi? Enough to sacrifice your only creature on the battlefield right now?
Yeah, and I think with Elspeth Conquers Death coming down, you just shouldn't really care about Teferi because, well,
you're gonna get it back.
Teferi comes back. Yeah.
Ooh, Giant Killer off the top of the library. That's a very nice pickup considering what's in hand there for Michael Jacob in the form of Kenrith the Returned King.
And I mean, Alias, I believe we were talking about this like 2 rounds ago, is, you know, being able to blink Giant Killer, cast the chop down side again. Just look at a sequence where we go like Elspeth Conquers Death this turn, bring back Teferi in 2 turns, you get to giant or chop down something, play Giant Killer, bounce it again. Like, that just seems insane.
Yeah, that seems pretty neat.
Decided to go against it, but...
Still, just setting up. I kind of like this play too, just getting another creature down. No counter in hand right now, but potentially just, you know, feigning it a little bit, being like, all right, you got to play a little bit carefully here, but Kitesail Freebooter is going to reveal all of Ref Levy's well-laid plans here.
Getting pretty punished for not casting Elspeth Conquers Death here, because, well, Chop Down can actually get countered by the Selfless Savior, by the good old boy. And Elspeth Conquers Death is an easy take here from the Kitesail Freebooter.
Yeah.
And now you just kind of have to wait till you can put Yorion into your hand and then Glass Casket it, which is still, you know, a super decent line over the course of the next couple turns. But you gotta think I'd feel a little bit more comfortable with an Elspeth Conquers Death on the battlefield and a Venerated Loxodon in exile.
Yeah, for sure. Just having that ticking and presenting future threats and getting Teferi back from the graveyard, all that sort of stuff. But now the Kitesail Freebooter does have Elspeth Conquers Death. We've got an Omen of the Sun that we can go scrying for, draw a card, and if we really, really need to, we can chop down this big ol' Loxodon, which I think Michael Jacob might be hoping for, considering Kenrith's in hand.
Yeah, no kidding. Definitely worth kind of baiting that out, because Kenrith could definitely take over this game.
So, does Raf Levy pull the trigger on this chop down? Let's see. What would you do, Corey?
You know, I think I would actually probably just Omen. I would probably just block with the Ophar. I would have Elspeth Conquers Death already last turn. That would have been my play for sure. But with how it sits now, I would almost rather Omen and try to set up like a Yorion, so that Yorion could blink the Glass Casket, blink that Birth of Melitus to get yourself another Plains, and then chop down if all were to fail then. But I think either or is completely fine and defensible.
So Ref Levy valuing his life total there. The wall goes down, another one replaces it as we hit chapter 2 of the Birth of Melitus. Yorion Sky Nomad is hovering over that. Like, it's kind of a little bit awkward now with the companion changes. Like, I really, really, really want to get this out because, you know, before the change, he could have just rocked Yorion right now. But he still has to pay that 3-mana tax to get him into the hand and then cast him. So a little bit of a tricky spot. It's kind of slowing his game plan down here.
Definitely. And I think, honestly, with the companion nerf, we see Gigantha's Index as like a value card, but the amount of times it gets cast is maybe like 1 in every 10 games. I think the only companion that survived this nerf is Yorion, just by what decks it already slants into, and that's control decks. Gigantha is only an aggro decks, so it's really hard to have that much extra mana. But when you're an Azorius control deck, you go to turn 10 every single game, or, you know, or you get wrecked. But, you know, ideally you go to very late in the game here.
Yeah. The Sky Tether is going to take care of this Loxodon for now, turns it into a defender, so no more attacking for you, Mr. Loxodon. Now the choice is, let's get Yorion in hand, or deploy the Giant Killer and the Omen of the Sun. Opts to go for the Yorion Sky Nomad to hand.
Sky Tether is an awesome card, I must say, especially another really good one with Yorion, because it lets you Sky Tether an early aggressive creature like a Barkhide Troll or something in mono green, and then late game when you Yorion and blink it, you can reattach it to like a questing beast or something that is much scarier. So a really cool interaction with that.
That is really sweet. Okay, so now deciding between Archon of Sun's Grace or just Rock of the Yorion. What do you like here? Getting some extra value off the Pegasus?
I think I would like Archon of Sun's Grace, Land, Giant Killer, and Omen during my opponent's turn. But I also think it's defensible to go Yorion, do some blinking. But Raph is a man who is getting all the values out of his card. I watched his match against Christopher Larson, and he is all about soaking up every bit of value.
Yeah.
And what he's setting up for right now is an outrageous turn. And I mean, there it is.
That's
but
enough.
Yorion blinking those enchantments and coming in with Archon next turn would have been absolutely insane.
Yeah, Michael Jacob wanted none of that. He saw the writing on the wall as a draft Levy, and that is going to do it. It looked like Raph was kind of on the back step or back foot there, but you know, it's just, that is the power of Yorion. As soon as there's permanence on the battlefield, as soon as you are able to blink anything meaningful, you're going to have a really, really bad time.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. And I mean, there's just so much removal in that Azorius control deck. Shatter the Sky is really backbreaking. And then Elspeth Conquers Death, Sky Tether, Glass Casket. All of these are cards Michael Jacob didn't want to run into. So not the ideal pairing for him, but congrats to Raphael Levy on that one.
Yes, indeed. We'll see those players later on today, hopefully. But right after this short break, friends, we will have more Magic from round 11. Don't go anywhere.
So again, the pressure is on Nelson, as Matthias has been able to continually come up with the things that he needs.
Could he not have cast Callous Dismissal and have just won the game?
Just won the game because he would have had 7, 14, 21.
Exactly. That's a 3-turn call with the 2 Nexus of Fates and Wilderness Reclamation. He could have just won the game.
3, 6, 7.
14, 21.
He was at 22 then, right? Because he just took 3.
No, he gained 2 life because Oath of Kaya triggered. So he was at 20 life.
Yeah, you pay 2 mana, you bounce something, you get a 1/1. You have 3 lands untapped. You tap all 3 of them. Wilderness Reclamation triggers. You tap all of them, and you cast Nexus of Fate. You attack the next turn. You do the same thing again, and that is lethal.
Oh my!
A slight opening here for Brad Nelson.
There is a chance now here for Brad. Just making sure he runs the numbers here. He has plenty of lands. He can just Callous Dismissal, Oath of Kaya, attack Brad for 6. Then next turn, attack for 7, and Leverado has this. He's going to win.
Leverado has Mythic Championship 3 in his grasp. All he needs to do is fire off 1 more Nexus of Fate, and he's got lethal. And that is going to do it. Matthias Leverado works his way through an incredible field of top-tier professionals, and he is your champion. Congratulations, Matthias.
My goodness. What a game. He was so close to dead on game 2. He looked through every single possible card to get to the point where he could find, with the last remaining card to see, he found Nexus of Fate to come back in game 2, and then game 3 taking it down. Wow.
Unbelievable. Faces down the Standard Master.
Welcome back to the Players Tour Finals, friends. I am Ailey Loney alongside Corey Baumeister, bringing you all the round 11 action from some of the best players in the world. Corey, this next matchup is featuring the 2 big bads of this weekend's tournament. It is Team Iraq versus Bandramp in the hands of Patrick Fernandez and Sebastian Pozzo. Who do you like going into this one?
You know, I gotta stick with Patrick just because I think Team Iraq is just a little bit better of a deck. But, you know, Bandramp is supposed to beat Team Iraq, or at least that was initially why it grew popular. But I think the Team Iraq players have kind of figured out how to beat it these days. But, of course, not going to be an easy matchup for Patrick by any means. And Sebastian is just a phenomenal player as well.
Yes, he is a member of the Rivals League. As we get things underway here, finding a Wilderness Reclamation off the top of the library does Patrick Fernandez. He also has the Growth Spiral in hand, so he's going to get off to a pretty ideal start. Could maybe want another Uro in hand there. It kind of seems to be the key cards to have in hand. I'd love a Growth Spiral, please, an Uro, please, and a Wilderness Reclamation.
Exactly, and we're kind of seeing from Sebastian Pazzo why maybe I don't love Bant Ramp as much, because you have this top end part of your deck, then you have the ramp aspects, and if you draw maybe too many Nissas, too many Teferis and stuff like that, you're not ramping as fast as the Team of Reclamation decks are. But, you know, when everything comes together, of course, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So going for Teferi, Time Raveler, taking a chance, hoping that there's no counter spells in the hand of Patrick Fernandez, which there wasn't, just the growth spiral. So Teferi gets to sit on the battlefield and annoy Patrick Fernandez until he can find a Baby Shark to take care of it. But that does open the door for him to get Wilderness Reclamation down.
Yep, exactly. Wilderness Reclamation loses its, you know, quote-unquote effectiveness with Teferi Time Reveler in place, so you can't do these giant explosions. But, you know, it does still allow you to cycle a Shark, and Wilderness Reclamation there is essentially a free spell, you know, getting to untap your land, so very solid there. Also has the Castle Vantrist, which is just another very key component to Wilderness Reclamation, even if you're unable to cast a spell. When you untap, at least you can scry.
For sure. So Potso just deciding how he wants to sequence his plays here. He does have the Temple in hand. So is he thinking, all right, let's scry first, or we're going to draw first? Like, what's going through his mind here?
You know, you got to have Shark Typhoon on your radar here, and you got to be able to recognize that that is a bit of a risky spot, since Teferi Time Reveler does go down to 2. So I don't know how much I love that. It's a bit of a risk, and at least with Sebastian's play here, when Wilderness Reclamation tries to come back, Sebastian Pazzo does have the answer to that.
He does, but he kind of takes a turn off of doing anything as well. So does this put him too far behind now a little bit? Or, you know, what's your take on his line here?
Yeah, I don't love it. This does kind of put Patrick back in the driver's seat. If you can just tick up, you know, play a land, say go, I think that seems better, just because the 2/2 Shark would then put Teferi from 6 down to 4, and then you have the option to bounce something at that point when Teferi looks like it's probably going to die anyways.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm up here and they're down there.
Yeah, it's also a bit of a giveaway now, so I doubt we'll see Patrick Fernandez redeploy this Wilderness Reclamation, just having the 1 mana spare. He doesn't have Mystical Dispute. He's got the negate, so potentially when he's got 6 land down, we'll see that redeployed as we draw Jolrael Momvuli Recluse off the top of the library here for Potso.
Yep, exactly that. And I think Patrick may have been more incentivized to go for it if he didn't pick up that copy of Negate. But Negate being able to step in front of a very powerful 5-mana Planeswalker that could have hit the battlefield, which Sebastian does have in the form of Nissa, who shakes the world.
Yeah, so both players, you know, kind of tippy-toeing around each other here, if we can use that phrase. Just testing the waters, making sure to leave up mana for meaningful threats that they think, you know, may or may not be in hand. Obviously, Wilderness Reclamation is known to Sebastian Potts, so he really doesn't want that hitting the battlefield.
Definitely not. And the unfortunate thing here, normally if you're Patrick, you'd be like, okay, I have Wilderness Reclamation. I have a 2-mana counterspell to make sure I can force this through. Sebastian only has 3 mana, so I can probably resolve this and untap. But Dovin's Veto is a heck of a magic card and shuts that down full stop. Yeah,
that's going to be pretty backbreaking. So looks like we're just going to go towards Uro then. Get this down on the battlefield. If it gets gusted, it's all right. It's not the end of the world. Just kind of slows him down for a turn. But at least we get to keep Wilderness Reclamation until we find another one. And then if one gets countered, it's okay.
I love that play so much from Patrick, because not only does he kind of have to realize that Wilderness Reclamation, you know, is known, so that there's probably a Dovin's Veto ready to deal with it, but also he is in the lead right now. So he is essentially, Sebastian is essentially the one who has to blink first. And with Joriel, you're also incentivized to start playing stuff during your turn. So there's going to be a window that's going to open up for this Wilderness Reclamation as long as Patrick remains patient.
So let's see how Sebastian navigates this next few turns as Fatal Passage is cracked, goes to find another land, finds an island, and is going to go for Uro, it seems. But just taking a second thought on that before he commits the big old giant to the battlefield. Here he comes. We're gonna get some kitty cats. Meow.
Meow, your favorite. I think if you could be a magic card, you would be a Joriel.
I would be a crazy
seems
cat
about
lady,
right.
yes. I'd like to be in an unset, please, wizards. Crazy cat lady, thank you.
Will offer my likeness to any crazy cat lady card you got for me.
I think I'd have to win a world championship before I got into a magic game, but you know, you never know. Maybe I can make an altar
Well,
or
if
something.
I've never seen a bigger motivating factor for you to do that, Alias,
Yeah.
you, I believe in you.
So why did you want to win this world championship? So here we go. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, back down on the battlefield. Gonna draw some extra cards. And Wilderness Reclamation ever looming there, but still we see that Dovin's Veto at the ready to counter it.
Yeah, that was a big risk. That was a big risk here in the form of Nissa. But I mean, if you just hold back, I mean, I guess you could go negate plus expansion the Dovin's Veto to deal with Nissa. So yeah, this was a maybe unnecessary risk where Nissa is going to resolve.
Looks like it. And when Nissa's down on the battlefield, we've seen so often how she just runs away with the games. Nissa who shakes the world, also known as Nissa who wins the games, if you don't have an answer for her. So we're gonna have to see how Patrick deals with this in the next few turns.
You can kind of see it on Patrick's face too. He's just like, come on, maybe I shouldn't have did that. You know, kind of see him muttering under his breath a little bit there. A little worried about that play.
But there's a decision to be made here. Do we go for the Nissa or do we get Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath out? Which is more impactful at this point?
So you can do both, right? You can Nissa, tap the breeding pool, untap the breeding pool, bring back Uro, but then you don't have Dovin's Veto mana open. So you see Sebastian Pacho taking, carefulness above everything here, just deploying the threat that will allow him to leave Dovin's Veto open in case there's a big explosion on the other side. So very disciplined play there for Pacho. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Being careful, doesn't want to give away this game. As both players are fighting to get into the top 8, happening next weekend, just as a reminder to everyone. Also, they are fighting for a spot in the top 16 to go and take part in the grand finals, which will be happening at a later stage this year.
Exactly, and both players sitting in quite a good spot, for sure for that top 16. Both definitely live for top 8, but you know, I mean, if I'm sitting in either one of their positions, and even from their record now, I could for sure clinch up a top 16 and get into that awesome tournament, I would be ecstatic. So a lot on the line.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see which of these decks will get it done for these players. Is it going to be Teamer Reclamation or Bant Ramp? The deck that's supposed to beat Teamer Rec, but Teamer Rec is just wrecking everything this weekend. Which is no real surprise, right?
No, not really. I mean, definitely some of the most powerful cards in Standard all jammed into one deck, and it's going to yield to some good results, that's for sure.
So no attack there, respecting Joel Rail. And the pump that she can give to the entire team based on the amount of cards in hand, with Uro attacking as well, that would be 5 cards in hand. We've got Hydroid Crasis too, so if you ever want to refill your hand, that is a good way to do it, especially if Nissa who shakes the world is down on the battlefield.
Totally agree, and Joriel is just such a hard card to play against. Not only are you getting this free value, but you always have to have that ability in the back of your mind, and it is just a really tough thing to always be considering when you're trying to play against this Bant Ramp deck.
Yeah, sometimes you just forget about it. There's a few things in Magic where everyone just kind of forgets it. You know, passives on Planeswalkers, third steps of Elspeth Conquers Death, you know, just...
Oh yeah, the amount of times when I've seen Narset Parter of Veil, you know, do that glowing ring when I'm playing against it is probably in like the 30s or 40s at this point.
Yeah, it's rough. Hydroid Crisis coming on down, X equals 4. And it looks like we're going to go for an explosion here, perhaps, on Joel Rail.
I think you have to. I think you have to, especially since it's only for 2. You know, I mean, your choice is 2 upstairs, which basically does nothing, or some of the cat army. You definitely want to aim it at the powerful 2-drop.
Yeah, that's where we're going. Target Joel Rail. Does Potso want to use this veto here?
feels like a trap to me, you know, to use it here. Like, of course, Joriel is powerful, but this, I would smell something kind of fishy with this, that there is something bigger in the wakes.
Yeah. This is the learning to pick your battles part of Magic. It's like, is this worth fighting over? I don't think it is, and I think Sebastian is kind of agreeing there, but let's see what happens here as Joriel is sent to the graveyard. We get to draw a bunch of cards, though. We have 4/4 in the sky to fend off these sharks. And this is still anybody's game. I mean, who would you give the advantage to here, Corey?
God, I agree. It is so close. I think I would put a small advantage bar heading towards Pazzo, but it really is anyone's game right now.
And after this little counter spell here, what do you think?
I still got to give it up to him. And you saw Patrick put up a peace sign there. That did not mean a peace sign. That is 2 Dovin's veto, because I'm looking at Sebastian's list. And take a guess how many are in his main one, or main configuration here.
Let me guess, 2.
2, yes. So he drew both of them. One of the most powerful cards in this matchup. So maybe a little bit of frustration there from Patrick.
Yeah, just unconditional counterspell. I think many people would be happy to find that. Considering Nissa, who shakes the world now, that's going on the stack. We do have 2 counters, potentially 3 if we want to expand something to get rid of this powerful Planeswalker. And I think that this spell is certainly worth fighting over as the negate gets fired off.
Definitely. And just 1 turn later, after you ask me who has the advantage bar, I'm swinging it back to Patrick, and that just shows how great these Growth Spiral mirrors are. Is there is so much give and take. The games are so intense every single game.
Yeah. What I like about them too is that there's creatures on the battlefield as well. So, you know, it's a battle of, you know, life totals, it's a battle of card advantage, a battle of how many creatures you have on the battlefield and how big they all are, as we see one of the biggest getting mystically disputed and sent back into the graveyard. That graveyard's got to be getting pretty big now, right? 6 in there? Yeah.
It's like 6, yep. And you gotta hate getting Mystical Disputed on turn, 12 or whatever here. It always feels so bad, but you're at a point in this game where if you just don't cast your Uro there, what are you doing? You're just passing with 6 mana and no spells in hand, no Castle to Scry or anything like that. So I like plays on both sides. It's just a little unfortunate.
There was an interesting decision there. Do we double block the Hydroid Crisis, lose our 3/3, or just let it through?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I would have been inclined to double block there, trading up, essentially, a 3/3 for a 4/4. Usually something you want to take in the stages of the game where life totals are at a pretty high number still.
Yeah, so valuing keeping those sharks alive, they're not doing any attacking, though. They're just kind of hanging back now. So is this where he wants to switch into being the beatdown? Can he afford to do that now with Uro down on the battlefield?
Yeah, I guess the answer is yes, and I think so. I mean, even with the Uro shutting down one of these cats, gaining some life in the process when it comes into play, I think Patrick can get back on the defensive or offensive here. I like that.
So both players getting a little light in the card department as we see another Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath come out here for Sebastian Pozzo. Let's see what he draws off the top. What's it gonna be? It's a Growth Spiral. Okay. I mean, you don't hate it at this point in the game. It's not like you're finding an Arboreal Grazer or anything.
Exactly. Or the Green Mulligan, as you call it, when you draw it that late in the game.
Oh no, finds a breeding pool. So 3 lands in hand there for Pozzo. That's not looking too hot.
Yeah, that's not ideal, that's for sure. And now it comes down to, do you bluff this or do you play the land just in case you draw a Hydroid Crisis and you can maximize the amount of cards you can draw? And I think Sebastian does it right. You just got to play it.
Yeah.
It's very unlikely Patrick plays around anything at this stage of the game. You just kind of got to jam.
Yeah, so still kind of a bit of a stalemate going here. He can return the favor and just start swinging, but, both Uros swing and you're just mitigating 3 points of damage. The one advantage that Patrick does have is the Castle Vantress that are down on the battlefield, so he can get scrying and find better draws, whereas Pozzo has nothing like that going for him.
Yeah, and that's just a little bit of the makeup of the deck. You look at Bant Ramp and they don't play Castle Vantress just because your 3-color deck, you really have to focus on just making sure you can cast all your spells and hope that the power level of playing that 3rd color is more valuable than the scry of Castle Vantress. And as we see in situations like this, sometimes it's not. All right. Cranking the blast zone up here to 2 is very smart to be able to deal with that Hydrate Crisis. Blast zone there up to 2 to be able to deal with Hydrate Crisis is quite nice.
Yeah, it's a good way to get rid of this big old jellyfish hydra snake monstrosity from the Simic bunch as that gets taken out of the air. So now things are looking pretty good here for Patrick Fernandez as he says, all right, let's go. Swinging on in with the entire team and putting the onus now on Sebastian Pozzo to find something to get him back into this matchup.
Exactly. And Patrick had this whole game really revolved around that one turn where he went for Wilderness Reclamation, hoping that Pozzo didn't have one of those Dovin's vetoes. Pozzo did, and then Patrick was basically on the back foot the whole time trying to play catch up from that little turn, and looks like he has successfully played great from that point and has done it. Like, great work so far here from Patrick.
He's in such a good position now, and this looks like it's going to be game over. With Wilderness Reclamation down, QQ, pew pew, let's go blowing some stuff up. That is for 10 to the face. I'll draw 10 cards, why not? And that is going to be the W for Patrick Fernandez. Nicely done. What a close matchup there.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
Impressive. With 2 mana over for negate as well.
All right, so Patrick Fernandez did manage a 2-0 in that matchup. Unfortunate there for Sebastian Pozzo on the bat ramp. We are going to be right back after this short commercial break. More Magic right after this.
Breeding Pool, that kind of develops your mana.
Ooh.
There's an Uro that will also do similar. Oh, but there's another shark now as well. This board state's getting out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, this was the big question for me is Ryuji going to send the Nightpack Ambusher? But he does not. He is not falling for that one.
And this one has really started to fall apart for Jean-Emmanuel. What does a comeback look like here?
Well, we're going to see a big turn for him, too, because he has that same combination of Wilderness Reclamation and Expansion. Now, how the players each choose to utilize their mana is not obvious to me.
Oh,
but
I see.
Depra will certainly play Wilderness Reclamation here and will certainly have access to at least 9 mana on his end step.
Jean-Emmanuel's going to kick it off with a Growth Spiral. Must find a way to interact with this spell on the stack or it's over. There it is, Growth Spiral. He finds a mountain.
Play a land and cycle the Shark Typhoon for 1 more shot at Negate or Ether Gust.
That's it. That's exactly where we're at. Here we go. Shark Typhoon cycle. Try to hit something. X equals 0. It's Mystical Dispute. Oh, not the one that Jean-Emmanuel needed. All Murray has to do is pay for it, and he will be your champion. There it goes. Players who are online goes to Ryuji Murray.
Castle Vantress Scry, 1 top, 1 bottom.
In theory, the wolf can block the Nightpack Ambusher, but I don't know what he can draw now. See, 6, 18 mana, not enough to even just YOLO Explosion for lethal. He's going to be up against 4 creatures at 1 life. Maybe if he had Storm's Wrath.
He finds an Expansion Explosion. I don't think that's going to get the job done here, not with so few lands in play.
Well,
Can
it has
kill
to
something.
involve, like, let's suppose he cast it for 5 and then drew 3 Aether Gusts or something. Like, that's kind of...
That's his only out here.
Yeah, something of that nature. Maybe I'll cast it for 4 and try to draw 3 Aether Gusts. But he has to still draw 3 answers to all this stuff.
Yeah. But here we go. Explosion on the stack. Trying to get rid of the Nightpack Ambusher. Mystical Dispute.
Dispute.
Negate that.
save a mana, but I don't know. I don't think he can even. I think 5 mana is not enough, even with perfect draws. I think you need 6. I think it's 2 per wolf in the best case.
And such a tough position here for Dominic, not finding anything proactive, just a handful of nopes, and Elias took full advantage of that. Here's another negate. A second negate to negate the negate. Nopes upon nopes on the stack right now. And finally, Explosion resolves. Doesn't find anything useful. Blast Zone, gonna blow up some stuff. There goes Dominic. So congratulations to Elias Watsfeld, our winner here of Players Tour Online #1.
Hey everybody, welcome back to coverage of the Players Tour Finals here on day number 2 of our big tournament. And Cedric, our feature match from last round, we didn't see Mardu Winota get to do its thing.
No, we did not. We got to see Raphael Levy do his thing. So for you Azorius Control fans, and definitely Corey Baumeister, who's a big fan of Urian Sky Nomad, you got to see blue and white cards do their thing in a very meaningful way. As much fun as Michael Jacobs' run has been, and it's not over. Raphael Levy really putting his stamp on this tournament. Again, I'm used to seeing Raph play maybe more aggressive strategies, but this time around, Nassif got his hooks into him, and it's worth it, because Raph's having a nice tournament with Azorius Control.
And Riley, you've got a great story of an awesome comeback for us.
Yes, they do. Well, more than one, as it happens, actually, because Pro Tour champion Ivan Floch, right? He finished yesterday at 4-3, but now is 8-3. He is 4-0 today with his Team Erect deck. He's playing main deck Jolreal, which hasn't actually impressed him too much, although he told me it was a good way to pressure those early Teferis from the opposing 4-color decks. He planned to play against Rek all weekend, and it has certainly paid off. He's very, very happy with his deck choice and has enjoyed the mirrors so far. But the real comeback story has been Autumn Burchett, of course, the British superstar. Started at 1-3. Not the way you want to start your tournament at all, but they've absolutely crushed it since then after they settled in and focused properly. That's in their words. Now at 8-3. They told me how they've been playing a bunch of mirrors, which is just what they wanted, and have beaten 4-color Rek 3 times, which is quite an achievement with Teema, considering that 4-color is designed to beat Teema, so they've done very well there. And it might have something to do with the fact that Autumn is playing main deck Narset, as they pointed out, after fighting over Teferi in 4-color Rek, you're in actually a bad position to fight over a follow-up Narset, so they've really made the most of a different 3-drop Planeswalker to fight through the mirror. Seems to be working very well for Autumn this weekend. Finally, got the chance to catch up very briefly with Andrew Bex from BK, who's on 4-color Rek, looking good at 8-3 as well. All but one of his matches, get this, every single match he's played except for one has been against Reclamation. So he's very, very happy to have Teferi to fight alongside him. And he told me the mirrors have been a mixed bag. The games were obviously when he stuck at Teferi, very easy, but it gets a little bit complex once you get to multiple Reclamation, stack of lands out. But he said one thing he hasn't enjoyed has been playing against his teammates and friends. He's played 3 75-card mirrors against teammates. He said it wasn't very much fun. Why wasn't it very much fun, BK? Well, as he said, he hates beating his friends.
Oh, yeah, it's never great when you're paired against your friend just at F&M or here in the Players Tour Finals.
Like he says, he doesn't mind playing against his friends. He just doesn't like beating them. Which, I mean, a very, very nice little humble brag there from BK, I thought. Anyway.
Sure. An important detail. We've had our eye on a couple of other players from the top of our leaderboard as well this round through round number 11. Alan Wu comes out victorious over Riku Kumagai and their mono black deck. So Alan Wu improving to 9-2. Ben White's also improving to 9-2, takes out Canister last round, who falls to 8-3. The man who is at the top of our leaderboard for most of the tournament, Christoph Prince, is there once again. He is 10-1 over Alvaro Fernandez Torres this round. Well, we're going to have our feature match for round number 12 coming up in just a couple of minutes, but before we do, Marshall Sutcliffe is going to give us another peek into a Magic Players collection.
And I'm here with Martin Yuza, and Martin's got a couple of stories to tell us. The first one, though, is about a really special card, a Beta Time Walk. How did you get your hands on one of those, Martin?
Yeah, it happened in the Grand Prix in Las Vegas. I believe it was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I flew there from Europe, intending to have fun with all the CFB people, all my friends. Vegas is a great, great city. And I'm like still jet lagged the morning of the qualifiers. Like there's a bunch of qualifiers where the winner, just the winner of like a 250 person qualifier makes it into the beta draft. I get a great sealed. I end up winning the qualifier, and all of a sudden I'm in a beta draft, which I'm just like, holy crap, how did this happen? Like what, what am I supposed to do now? And yeah, Ben Stark and Lewis ended up winning the other 2 qualifiers. Man, next day we're sitting in the draft, and my 3rd booster, there's a time walk. So I'm now a proud owner of a beta time walk from one of the coolest events that there ever been in Magic.
Can you remember what it was like when you first saw the time walk in the pack? Like it got turned over or revealed to you or whatever?
Oh, well, yeah, I got super excited. Obviously, it's one of the most iconic cards in Magic, and the better the condition of these kind of cards that are 27 years old these days, the more like sought after it is by the collectors and everything. So I actually didn't even put it into my deck because Ben Stark was my round opponent, and Ben likes to riffle shuffle, and he's not the most like careful person when he shuffles cards. So even though I ended up playing 23 lands in my deck, and it was really easy to just splash for the time walk, because 23 lands, like you normally play 16, 17, maybe 18 sometimes.
Yeah.
I didn't put it into my deck because I just didn't want anybody to touch it. And that was a great idea because I had it graded. It ended up grading as 10, 9.5, 9.5, 10, which is 10 is the highest subgrade you can get.
Wow.
This is just 0.5 away from a 10, which I think there is just 3 of them in the world or something. So that was definitely a good decision. And just overall, I was just super lucky that weekend. I also ended up making top 4 of the modern GP. So just overall, like the luckiest weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bet you're glad you got out of bed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's a good decision. Martin, thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah, time walk, not a bad rip. Well, coming up here in round number 12, we've got one heck of a feature match for you. This feature match is all about the win streaks. We've got Autumn Burchett on Teamer Reclamation versus Brent Voss on Bat Ramp. By the way, Autumn, 7-0 win streak right now after starting 1-3, like Riley said. Brent also on a win streak of his own, 8-0 run right now after starting 0-3. Let's take a look at the Teamer Rec list brought to the tournament by Autumn Burchett. Cedric, tell us about any kind of little things that you notice when you're taking a peek at this list.
I wouldn't say it's little. I'd say it's pretty darn big, truth be told. First of all, Wilderness Reclamation, only 3 copies instead of 4. This is something that Autumn started doing on the SCG Tour Online Championship qualifiers, where they were able to go first place, second place, top 16, top 32 across 4 of them. Also note the 2 main deck copies of Narset Parter of Veils, no copies of Nightpack Ambusher, 4 main deck Negates, 4 main deck Mystical Disputes, a main deck Commence the Endgame. What this all means, Maria, is that this is a player that is geared towards beating the Mirror. Expecting a ton of Reclamation decks here this weekend. Nailed that. That has absolutely happened. A bumpy start, as you mentioned, but picking up a ton of wins and hoping to play against more Reclamation decks. That will not happen for Autumn this round. Bant Ramp is the opponent and the weapon of choice here for Brent, and what you're going to notice is a lot of Planeswalkers in Nissa, Narset, and Teferi. And don't forget about the Uros and Hydroid Krasis. And this is a matchup where it very much is the person playing Bant Ramp feels like they're good against Reclamation, and the person against playing Reclamation feels like they're good against Bant Ramp. But something's got to give here because we're not going to get a draw. So should be a really good match, and someone's win streak is also going to end. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one unfold.
Yeah, this should be a great one coming up here. Well, let's find out who is sitting where as we look at our leaderboard here heading into round number 12. As we start to round out the end of day number 2 here, these records are so important. Well, it only took 1 round for Christoph Prince to get back on top of the leaderboard here, sitting at 10-1, followed closely by Alan Wu, Riku Kumagai playing that mono black deck. Patrick Fernandez saw him on camera last round as well. Michael Jacobs sitting in 6th with that Mardu Winota list, and Andrew Beckstrom doing well for himself too, as well as Canister, both sitting at 8-3. And as we peek further down the leaderboard here, 9th through 16th, Alvaro Fernandez Torres, we just heard about his result, losing to Christoph Prince last round. Raphael Levy still in the mix here, Yvonne Flock, Pascal Viren, Elias Watsfeld, and there is Autumn Burchett, and there is Brent Voss, both at 8-3 as we head into round number 12. Keep in mind, combined top 16 is so important this tournament, because people who are in that spot get invited to come back and play in the season grand finals here, kind of the capstone event of this year. But we've got round 12 to deal with before we find out those people. So let's head to a short commercial break. More Magic after this.
And a punishing one too. Inverter of Truth and 2 copies of Jace as well. This is tough here for Glogowski.
There's a huge crowd next to that. You could see the audible, oh.
Yep. You can hear them just off camera there like that. They're on a slight delay so as not to alert the players as to what's going on. And you could hear that was a big whiff. A big whiff.
We're not out of the woods yet.
Not out of the woods.
Plan Z.
There's a plan. We're all the way down to Plan Z.
Plan Z.
Plan Z. All right. So Thief of Sanity, of course, can still flip something cool off the top of Larsson's library, but he's on a comfortable 27, and Glogowski has kind of moved away from that 1-2 punch territory there without really being able to stitch together his primary game plan. Thought Seize reveals a mystical dispute.
Irrelevant.
That disputation has been put to bed. Did he find Emrakul off the top of Larsson's library?
He doesn't have a graveyard, so he can't really make it cheaper. And Emrakul goes 13.
Yeah, you need 4 more lands.
Yeah.
That's way too much. Yes.
Ambitious.
It's not the promised end of this matchup, at least here. All right. 4 blocks. Will we see the Murderous Rider? Puts the land into play. Another clue token. Not going to miss that.
Before blockers.
Before blocks.
He's lining up 3
mana. 1, 2, 3 mana.
Yeah, 2 of them are black.
Swift End. Here it comes. This is going to win Yoel Larsson the Players Tour Final. Sataway Finder, the only blocker available. Crack a clue. Put a counter on the Tireless Tracker. And that is the game. Yoel Larsson has seen it. Everyone has seen it. Glogowski has seen it. And that is that. The champion of Players Tour Europe is the Swedish superstar, Yoel Larsson. What a performance from him. Oh my.